the story behind all the dances. And the story behind this dance is to where, from what I've been told, a father, he had two teenage daughters. One of them became ill. And he had a dream, and in his dream came this dress, the jingle dress. And he was told a message that if he put this dress on that daughter that was healthy and danced this dance, then that daughter that was sick would then become feeling much better, thus called a healing dance. Many years ago, the Native American people, we used to live across this country freely. We didn't have ownership of the land, but yet they said that we were able to occupy the land. And with time, we began to trade with the early pioneers, the early mountain men and other people. And even to this day, you may have heard of the Skull or Copenhagen smokeless tobacco cans. They're either silver or gold on the top of those cans. With time, the Native American people, the women begin to get creative. They begin to take these tops, cut them in a certain shape, twist them, and now the ladies of the jingle dress, they now put that on their dresses. So that's why you kind of hear the different jingles on this young lady. So this first dance is what we call the women's jingle. Like that dance. Don't be shy, put your hands together. We certainly enjoy all the different applauses. We're going to be doing a couple different dances back to back with this young lady here. And so, this one dance is what we call a straight song. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. You say that if you ask any of these dancers to say at a powwow, a gathering of people, as I mentioned, you could go up to them and ask them, is there what you dance for? They'll tell you their own story. Perhaps they're going to be telling you about dancing for those people who are unable to dance, for our elders who are now sitting off to the side. Some of those people may be having hard times in their lives, so then we're dancing for those. They say that when we're young, when we're still healthy in mind and body and strong, and that is when we should be really out here doing our dance. Today we're dancing with background CD music, well, actually from the tablet. But yet, try to imagine a group of singers around this drum. This drum is from the height of the animal, and the animal had given its life for this particular purpose of carrying on the music of the native people. This shape of this drum is circle. Our belief is like we have the belief of a circle of this, we have the circle of life. We had our first breath in this life. We came in this world. And then we can continue to be older and older in this life. And somewhere at our old age, we then pass on to the spirit world. Then we have completed that circle. And sometimes we don't get to that point. Our life is cut short for whatever reason. And so they say that this drum is the heartbeat of the Native American people. And at one time, the Indian people were dancing around the drum. We weren't singing around the drum. But now many different organizations, tribes, were actually being able to have different types of singing and things like this to be able to keep our traditions alive. And so we're going to go back and forth here. We got a couple of different dancers. And once again, in the introductions, my name is Nino. I'm two different tribes. I'm from my mother's side, from the Northern Indian tribe in the Uinta Basin. From my father's side, in the Pueblo tribe down in New Mexico. I am joined with Rhonda Duvall over here from both the Net and African American nations, and also this young man behind me is from the Net or Navajo tribe. He's going to be doing his dance. And you'll see on his regalia is a little bit more flashier style. They say that this is a dance called a men's fancy dance. Also, because of the fancy of the regalia, it's a relatively new dance style. They say that it kind of started around, from what I've been told, around the 1950s, to where the men would put on their fanciest type of clothing. They would go and dance in front of the women and hope that they'd be able to woo the love of the women through the different dance styles and different kind of regalia items that they would have. So we're going to go do his song here. I'm going to do double duty here. It looks like our dancer is going to go off to the side there for a minute and change. So I'm going to go and turn his song on. This is what we call the men's fancy. I just been in competition. At the end of the beat of the drum, the dancers would have to have both of their feet on the ground. They're judged by the stamina, different movements, the regalia. And then at the end of the beat of the drum, their both feet are down on the ground. We have a whole variety of different songs, trick songs, social songs, a whole variety of different songs. These dancers have to memorize these songs, these singers have to memorize these songs. Once again, we have different songs in which they have to learn. Let's go into another men's category, the category that I'm dancing in. This is called men's traditional, the storytellers. I have on my back is what we call an eagle bustle made from the eagle feathers. Native American people are the only group of people who can have these feathers from the eagle. They're very sacred to us. And they say had this been a regular powwow, it's not, today is just like exhibition, so if something like this drops like today, it's not as bad as if it was a powwow to where we had one of our traditional people had blessed this arena And they said if one of these feathers had dropped, that it is one of our own human beings had passed on to the spirit world, and we have special songs and special dances in order to retrieve it. And so we have different songs in which we do. In this particular dance style, the men's traditional, is what we call storytellers. We're going to tell you a story. In this first dance that I'm going to be doing is what we call a crow hop. Try to imagine my hairpiece right here is the head, along with my head is the head of the bird. And my instruments in my hands, along with my bustle, is the wings of this bird. And the birds, the crows, they fly from one place to another to get food, to get for safety and things like this. So this dance that I'm going to be doing is representing the bird people, called the crow hop. We call our dances Indian aerobics. Different people spend thousands of dollars on Taibo, Zumba. Some people my age may remember Jane Fonda. Oh yeah, probably have all them 8 tracks still. Or not 8 tracks, VHS in your, yeah, all dusty everywhere. So this next dance that I'm going to be doing is what we call a sneak up. That's 2 different stories to it. Try to imagine in my hand, there could be some kind of weapon, a stick, a club, a spear, perhaps a bow and arrow, and leave it later on. We traded with the early pioneers with rifles, sneaking up on the enemy. And so they say that when this dance came about, is that the warriors, they would leave back at the camp, the young children, the elders, the women. If we went off to war, they would leave them back to the camp. They would say their prayer, and they would fight in that particular skirmish. And they would come back if they were successful. They would come back and they would show around the fire after they were eating. They would show around the fire different movements. They would yelp in different ways. They would have different instruments, and they would show to those who stayed back at the camp. They showed them on how they fought that particular skirmish. So 2 different stories about this dance. This is called a sneak up. You have to watch pretty good, because at the very end, we're going to ask for audience participation. Okay, so takes a lot out of you. I've been blessed with not only the physical health, but also to be able to do the dance. And also in my hand is what we call a Native American flute. I've been playing the flute for 25 years or so. My music has been heard different places, and for probably like 14, 15 years now I've been part of the Grammy committee too, because about probably like 2006 when I released my 3rd album, Grammy committee became aware of some of the works I did, and so we submitted that last album, well, the third album, and made the third rounds of that. Had we gone one more, myself and my friend Red Hot, had we gone one more round, we would have been nominated for that year. And so it was very honored. It was very hard to be able to do stuff like that. So I've been playing the flute for a very long time. And so I'm going to play this song. It's called "A Buffalo Will Come." It's how we as people can relate to the animal people, the buffalo in this case. The buffalo is very strong, very determined. And when it wants to go from one place in its life to another place in its life, it'll figure out what it needs to do in order to get there. And we as people, we have different challenges in our own life. If we can somehow relate, in this case to the buffalo, to be able to overcome these different challenges in our life, then we'll be able to figure out how to overcome them in a good way. So this is called "The Buffalo Will Come." The Native American flute is called a woodwind instrument, meaning the wind or the breath. The wind right here is affecting it. It blows in this. It's very unique. It's two chambers, one chamber right here and another chamber right here. So it's very sensitive, not only to the cold, but also to the wind as well. We're going to go into our second round of songs and dances. We're going to go first into our female category. And just like the men's fancy, we have also a women's fancy. This dance actually has a couple names to it. The women's fancy, also the women's butterfly. You, in your own life, may have seen a butterfly. I'm sure you have. When this little being that came out of its cocoon and then now becomes a butterfly, over the shoulder of this young lady is what we call a shawl. This shawl represents the wings of the butterfly. If you can imagine a butterfly itself, it has beautiful colors, intricate designs. She is going to do her own interpretation of the butterfly people itself, flying in different ways, using this shawl right here, interpreting that animal being, this plant being, or excuse me, this butterfly. So this is what we call the women's butterfly, also known as the women's fancy shawl. All right, big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yes, a women's fancy show. On the top of her head, she'll actually be doing two different dances, but on the top of her head, she has the one tail feather. It comes from a immature golden eagle. As I mentioned to you, we're the only culture who can have them legally. We can get them actually sent in the mail. I've received full eagles sent in the mail from the Eagle Repository. We can have to sign permits. We have to fill out all the paperwork. And so we have them for a reason. Now there's 12 main feathers of the tail, and just 11 of them are actually curved. And there's only one of them that's just right, that center feather, which is on her hair. On the top of my head right here is what we call the hairpiece. And my feathers up here are what we call spinners. So when I move my head, my feathers are going to be spinning in different ways. I forgot to mention when that first male dancer came out, he had what we call rockers. When he moves his head forward and back, his feathers will be rocking forward and back. And so we're going to go into our second song of the Women's Fancy, also known as the Women's Butterfly. Over 574 Native American tribes and people who live across the country. There's actually an additional couple hundred more who are what we call not federally recognized by the federal government. Meaning that in the early days of the treaty making time, you know, the Native people, they used to live across the country freely amongst the land. They lived in different places. They had their ceremonies. They had their summer camps or winter camps. And they're very, very keen about not overusing the land. And when the early pioneers began to make their trek westward, some of them continued on to their journey to California. Some began to stay. And then with time, there was conflict between these early people and the Native American people, which then resulted in the Native American people being placed on what they call reservations. The Native American people, they relinquished millions of acres of land for certain guaranteed rights to then be placed on these reservations. Some of them, which then means, if they're federally recognized, which then means that the government is then responsible in certain things. So now we're going to go into the second song. Another big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our Ronda Duvall. Two different dance styles. We have three different styles in both women. She did two of them. There's one more dance style, is what we call the traditional dance. We have a northern style, a traditional dance in the women's. We have a southern style, traditional dance in the women's, and actually in both men and women. So they have different styles depending on tribe and interest and what they're being raised in and interested of what dancing they're going to be doing. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned to you already, the drum is in a circle in a shape. That shape is very sacred to us. I talked to you a little bit about the drum, the heartbeat of Native American people. And so this young man is going to come up to you and tell his story. It's called the hoop dance. And these hoops they bend in different ways. And sometimes they just like our life. They bend in different ways. Sometimes our life breaks just like these hoops breaks. And so we have to figure out how to mend our life, how we have to mend these hoops. And so he's going to tell you a story. Like I tell you a story through different words, but yet he's going to tell you a story through different movements. And usually I don't try talking over when some of these dancers are dancing because it interrupts their own healing of themselves. But yet in this case, I usually say a few different things during his dance, just to kind of tell you of what I might see. So what he's going to be doing is he's going to be shaping different or forming different shapes of the hoop. It could be of an animal being, it could be of a plant life. And so each year for a number of years, the first weekend of February, the Herd Museum in Phoenix, Arizona placed host to the World Hoop Dance Competition. This young man here has been competing in that for a number of years. The highest he has ever been in the World Hoop Dance Competition was, I believe, 4th place in the world. This past February, he competed prior to COVID, and he competed in his category, and he placed 6th in the world. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you have a treat seeing you right here in front of you. He's a member of the Navajo tribe, Mr. Patrick Willie. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Had this been in competition, they would be judged by the stamina. They have only a short amount of time to be able to get their whole routine done. Had one of these hoops fallen, they would get deducted. They'd be judged by the regalia, by the amount of routines or the formations they can make within that short amount of time. They initially pick up their hoops by stepping on them and flipping them up, rather than bending over and picking them up with their hands. Perhaps it could be the butterfly people. You try to imagine what you might visualize yourself. And if you like what you see, that would be shy. Go ahead and give them a round of applause. Each of us formations. Perhaps it's a warrior out on the warpath with his bow and arrow. The hunter. The world that we're all living. Perhaps the butterfly people, the young bird. Perhaps the butterflies. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Halfway, halfway. Cheer them on, cheer them on. Oh yeah, yeah. Help them out, help them out. The ladder from what I've been told, to the heavens, the crocodile people. Great heaven host. The bird, as it's getting a little older in its life. Once again, the world that we all live in. Cheer him on, cheer him on. Help him out, help him out. Oh, yes, he's getting his routine. Many hours of practice. The adult eagle. The ram or buffalo out on the prairie. And once again, the world and the two worlds will live in. Both the native world, the first world, and the non-native world, and how they both come together as one. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a 45-minute program, so we try our best to try to stay within that time frame. And so we can't end without a dance, a song, in which we often end. We know that we all are trying to do our best of practicing social distancing. But yet, on this dance here, it's a pretty simple dance. We have a left foot and a right foot. That's what I've been told. We move our left foot to the left. We drag our right foot to the left. Pretty simple. 2 counts. 1, 2, 1, 2. And so usually, in a non-COVID era, we would be holding our hands in a big circle. A circle of 1. All different sizes and shapes and colors and ages of people would come together as one, representing our community in this health of life. And so we would ask different people to come out and dance. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, that we would dance not only for ourselves, we would dance for those people who may be hurting in different ways. And so, if you like, we would ask you to come out and dance. And we'd, again, try our best to stay within that 6 feet. You know, I kind of thought about I was going to bring some string on here, but I didn't want to be like, you know, one of those owners of, you know, animals and, you know, keeping on strings and stuff like that. So please, don't be, these guys are a couple, that's why they're doing that. Yeah. So please, don't be shy, come on now. And this is usually when people take off, get up and leave, you know, and, you know, go to the restroom and whatever else. So don't be shy, come on now. We're not judging anybody. Again, the idea is a cultural opportunity, an opportunity to be able to come and express yourself in good health and happiness. And once again, try to imagine just hundreds of people who come out here. And on a good, large powwow, and any given weekend during the summer months, all of them are pretty much canceled during for this year. And so just try to imagine just hundreds of people who come out into this big circle, representing all different types of people and shapes of cultures and things like this. And we'd come out and dance, and we would enjoy yourself. And so it's just a beautiful scenery of being able to see and different people come out. And so we're going to practice. People on that side, don't watch me. Just remember your left foot and or your right foot, because when you're watching me, then you're going to go the wrong way. So we're going to practice real quick. We're going to step to the left. Oh, no, that's right. Okay, so now we're going to move. We're going to drag our right foot to. Okay, left foot going left. All right. So now, left. There we go. Right. Left. When I mean right, I do not mean going right. I mean moving the right foot to the left. Right. 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 Left. Right. I think we got it. All right. So now, had this been like a regular big giant round dance, we would do all different kind of formations, but we're going to cut a little bit short. But the idea is to try to imagine hundreds of people out here. If this young man's going to lead, so you're going to come right over here, Mr. Patrick. And so you just, everybody follow him. Whoever's to his right, follow him. He may begin to meander like the snake people would coil up after a nice long day, a good meal. It's time to rest for protection and warmth. And then a new day arises. And just like we had a new day, we would come out and enjoy ourselves in this beautiful park. we would then just come and coil out, and then we meet all kinds of different people. So the idea, we would have different formations. And so at the very end, after the coil and then the uncoil, we would then be how we are right now. And then, without getting closer than 6 feet, well, we know we're going to do our best. So we're going to, and without hurting anybody, we get so excited. I see people get so excited their shoes come off. Yeah, because so they have flip-flops and whatever. We're going to come into the middle and scream, not like this. Oh, no, because we're going to scream, and when we scream, we let out all that beautiful energy of life and health and all this goodness of ourselves. And so it's okay to be able to scream loud, because we're going to use our outside voices. We're going to use our outside voices. And so I think we got it. All right. I'm now corded, so I can't go very far. So, here we go. We're going to practice right, the left, the right. Move our arms, the left, the right. Move our hands, left, the right. There we go. Yes, we're not being judged, but yet let yourself free of how you're feeling of the beat of the drum. Coming out once again, dancing for the people. They say they dance for the people.